Yo, did you just say you never drink caffeine after 3 p.m.?
That's what I try and do, is stick to a rule at, and it's difficult, but yeah.
Wow. I mean, do you sleep good at night? Like, does that help?
It makes me feel better overall. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I don't drink coffee until 7 p.m., then I would go to bed at 2 p.m. Like I I need to drink coffee right up until the point that I fall asleep. Otherwise, I will fall asleep whenever I stop drinking coffee. Sirens on my end, dude. It's Friday. It's Friday, and all the cats are here, man.
Whoa. We're live. We're live. Whoa. Is it safe to come out now?
No.
Like, is Thanksgiving over there? Can the Brits come out of hiding?
Listen. You knew it was safe to come out the second you met me.
All right.
That was a gay joke, everybody. All right, let's start the show. This is PSVR GamesCast Live. We film live every single Monday, Wednesday, and 2 Wise Friday right here on PSVR without Parole. We do it live for your viewing pleasure. And the Worcester cops are here for your oral pleasure. They're also those cops are also available on podcast services of your choice. My name is Brian Paul from this channel right here, PSVR without Parole. The gentleman over here, far over the seas, is Miles Dyer from Miles Dyer Official. How goes it, my friend?
Going good. How we doing, Brian? How we doing, Game Cats? Happy Black Friday.
Yeah. Dude, it feels like Black Friday was 3 weeks ago.
Well, yeah, I mean, things are always a bit of a lag time. Black Friday started in the States. We've had it for a few years now. But this was the first year I remember a lot of companies were like, yeah, we're doing Black Friday a week earlier. And then so the deals started coming out last Friday. And then there's Cyber Monday, but I just assume that means the deals from today go on until Monday. I mean, this is the first one that I've proactively engaged in.
All right, yeah, it's a little bit different than that. Usually Cyber Monday are different deals, but yeah, obviously just online deals. But I just feel like as time has gone on, like once upon a time there was a point in having Black Friday, like because online shopping wasn't as prevalent, and you would get to the store a few hours before it opened. Like I remember getting to the store at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and being the first one in line like 20 years ago. But now people line up 24 hours ahead of time, and then people get trampled and people get sick, and it just doesn't. I can't imagine buying anything that waiting 24 hours in line would be worthwhile for. So I just can't get behind it, man. I'm not interested anymore. Every so often I'll see a deal and go, oh, that's nice. Yeah, I'll save a couple bucks. I'll throw it in my Amazon cart and check out. And that's the extent of it. I no longer want the stress of Black Friday to save a couple bucks.
I find there's a common theme with a lot of topics I talk about, and it's the idea of approaching things with an intention. And what I mean by that is, like, when it comes to social media, I try. And I know it's difficult when you're running a channel like this, and when I'm, at work, you have to use Twitter all the time. But for my personal, I kind of keep it deleted on my phone. And then when I want to post something on Twitter, I have to approach it with an intention. I have to actively go on my computer, post it, and then I'm not scrolling all night with it. And it's kind of similar with Black Friday. I do get grossed out when I see the people trampling over each other and buying stuff that they weren't going to be buying anyway. Just before we went on air, I was telling Brian that I've just bought a new camera that I'm really excited for, which is going to arrive on Sunday. But that was something I discovered actually on a video about Black Friday last year, but I had not enough money for it then. And I've been saving bit by bit, and I don't actually have enough money for it now, but I've got it anyway. And so I'm really excited for that. So yeah, my studio will start having a bit of an upgrade. I've got a low profile microphone arm as well, so this will no longer be in shot. So it's nice to be excited about little things, but there's also a lot of stuff that you see and I go, do I need that for my studio? No, but do I want it? Yes.
I like the fact that my boom mic is prominently featured. Like it's featured in the shot better than I'm featured in the shot. And I sort of like that, right? It takes the pressure off me. Everyone's focused on the mic. No one's paying attention to what I'm saying.
You need to dress up, man. You need to give it a little bow tie and suit and jacket. That's it. Here we go.
The transition has begun.
There we go. Whoa.
My microphone is so dressed up for the holidays.
So good.
In response to our headline, All Yours History says, I'm going to say that there isn't enough launch games. This is it, you can call this headline whatever you want it to be. It's mostly, oh my God, we're going to do a GAMESCAST in an hour. What are we going to call this thing? Just an excuse to talk about games. There's never enough launch games. I don't care if there's 100 launch games. There's never enough launch games. Emily Baxter, hashtag the cartoony witch game kitten with the $2 tip. Good call. Says, cartoony games still suck. Weekend's now official. What would the weekend be without kicking it off? Without a slam from Emily Baxter. Man, Bear, Pig, Game Cat with the $2 tip says, Do Not Open would be a great PSVR2 title. Boy, are you in luck. Man, Bear, Pig, Game Cat. Because not only did the PSVR 1 version of Do Not Open get canceled, it's a PSVR 2 game now. I do have a key for it. I refuse to start it. I can't quite convince myself to pull the trigger because I did see all I had to see was the thumbnail of Ian's video from Eurogamer that was basically said this game's terrible. And I was like, I don't know if I can do it, man. I was looking forward to this game for so long, and the fact that it just, I mean, it sounds like it's buggy. It sounds like it's just not good. So eventually I will watch this video. Eventually I will play a little bit of the flat screen version to see exactly what's wrong. But man, I'm disappointed. Hopefully they have enough time to clean up Do Not Open before the PSVR 2 launch. So I don't know, man. What do you want to do? There's a lot of conversations happening here in the chat. This is good stuff. Hopefully everyone's doing well. Cool, man. Let's take care of a couple viewer takeover questions to kick the show off, as we like to do. Guys, don't forget that if you are not a member of our Discord, you can click the link in the description below, and you can
join it,
and you can come hang out. It's totally free to join. There's a public voice chat for that, and we've got some perks for the Patreon supporters over there as well. But it's a good place to have these conversations, and it's also a good place to leave your viewer takeover questions. I like when people leave questions during the show, but when we're planning the show, I usually take them from the viewer takeover channel on our Discord. So it's good. It's a good reminder to make sure that you're
basically, if you ask questions in the chat, you're going to get really ill-informed answers that have had no thought put into them. But if you actually get them in Discord before, it means we can do some research.
Not that we will.
Yeah. Okay.
We can do
slightly more
research.
Slightly more research, as in we'll look at the question and go, okay, we got a minute to think about this before we go live.
Yeah. Or Seek the Game Cat in the chat does remind us that VR makes everything better. That was one of my earliest catchphrases. So probably true for Do Not Open. Let's fucking hope so. Yeah, good stuff. Viewer takeover questions. Let's start with Josh76 says, how do you think see-through function, which is just the PlayStation VR 2 pass-through function, will improve PSVR gaming? Is it something we use all the time? And can game devs make use of it in their games?
So my first question with this, Brian, is from what we've seen, it's black and white, isn't it? But the overlay is in color. So like when they're mapping the room, like the PlayStation shapes are in color. I assume that the camera of your surroundings, is it that just that mode it's black and white? Or is there actually going to be color functionality? No color. Okay. Yeah. Because I was just like, okay, that limits it a little bit. My mind straight away goes to this horror app that was released years ago, which is where it was an AR experience where you held up your phone and as you go around your house, like ghosts would come out and monsters, and it was, so you felt like you were doing sort of a found footage thing on your phone.
I remember there was something like this on 3DS. I think it was called The Hidden or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did that? Oh, because it had a camera on it, did it?
Yeah.
The Nintendo. Yeah. So I wonder if there is something that could be done. I mean, a more specific point is when I think of Hideo Kojima and people that would experiment with the platform, it wouldn't surprise me if they somehow design a mini game in it where, yeah, okay, it's in black and white in your surrounding, but that's kind of cool and cinematic. Yeah. And you could make some mini game in there, but I don't think there are going to be full-fledged games using it. I could be mistaken. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, I mean it's a tethered headset, so I don't think we're not exactly exploring our own house and making it haunted type thing.
Yeah.
It's also I don't know. I think a lot of fuss is made about pass through or see through when it doesn't really deserve it. I don't I don't care at all about it. I literally never use it on any other VR headset. Like, oh, you can click the button and you can see where your controllers are. I was like, you know what else I can do? I can also lift the headset up and see where my controllers are. It's really not a big deal. And so some people are like, oh, the resolution on the PSVR2 pass through is so much better than the resolution on the Quest 2 pass through. And I was like, who cares? And then they're like, oh, but it's still in black and white. I'm like, and still, who cares? I'm like, I'm literally never going to use this button unless I absolutely have to. So I'm doubtful that that developers will even be allowed to integrate this into their games.
Right.
So, I can't imagine.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well, that Sony probably is going to ring fence it, no pun intended, with what it's about, but, have literally say, no, this is just for that setup.
Yeah.
Because there's probably some legal ramifications, right? We are saying the headset is tethered, but if Sony is saying, no, this functionality is to set up your parameters and to be aware around you, if there were games that were starting to involve it, there could be an argument of, okay, now there could be issues. Although all VR games have that risk, don't they? Except you're normally blinded by it. But I can't see them using it for anything full-fledged.
Yeah. I don't know if you're aware of this, Miles, but a random note in the chat says, guys,
I'm not aware of much at the moment, to be honest.
I'm sad to inform you that this Miles is an imposter and not the real Mr. Dyer, possibly a clone. Look at the time proof. I don't know what the time proof is, but
it's the real time proof.
At the real time proof. That doesn't help me any better.
And I still don't understand. I love that I was saying, and it's the real time proof. Yeah. And I have no idea, but I'm real.
Sweet. Well, then that brings us perfect segue, Miles.
Wait, was that not even a super chat and you read that out, Brian? My goodness.
Viewer takeover questions, Miles. Thanks for playing along. These are questions from our Discord. Remember when we were telling people to join our Discord and leave their viewer takeover questions over there? Well, that's what we're doing right now, Miles. But you do you. The next viewer takeover question comes to us from
X-Pacer.
Oh no, by all means. Well, it's my turn to drink coffee.
Yeah, you enjoy that coffee, Brian. He asks, will we see the PS5 dashboard or a 3D virtual environment when we turn on PSVR2? Also, supplementary question, bit cheeky, but we'll allow it. Also, will there be flat or 3D trophy notifications in PSVR2? So will we see the PS5 dashboard or a 3D virtual environment when we turn on the PSVR2? I mean, straight off the bat, I think it's just going to be a PS5 dashboard. But I really want it to be, I want it to be a PlayStation Home or something like that. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
And I keep bringing up that PlayStation commercial that was released where the guy goes back to his apartment with the meat on the plate and you've got all these collectibles. And I'm like, that'd be such a cool VR thing that you actually stack things up around you. I mean, it could be something that comes out later down the line, but I don't know. I just keep compressing my hopes when it comes to PlayStation releases at the moment. Yeah. Just because Sony have been so quiet with everything.
They've been so quiet with everything, and there's a part of me that's trying to temper my expectations as much as possible, far beyond what I've ever tempered them before. And I don't think that's because the launch is going to be bad or because there won't be a ton of games or anything like that. I just think that starting to think, and this is going to be a really fucking curious thing to say without going deep into it. I'm starting to think that the long-term plans for PSVR2 are far more important to Sony than the short-term plans. And And I do have good reason to believe that, but I also think that means we're going to be the beta testers, man. We're going to be the people, even though this is 2 years into the PlayStation 5 console lifespan. I do think that it's going to be a slow ramp up. I think that we're going to see a lot of support from a lot of developers. We're going to get a lot of games, but I do think that also means that the UI might be exactly what you are picturing when you think of a PlayStation VR UI, you just see the PlayStation 5 home screen in cinematic mode, and you just use the D-pad or the analog sticks to pick which game you're playing, which is still better than having to hold the trigger button and swipe your arm across the menu in order to access the PlayStation 4 VR stuff with the Move controllers, which is horrible. But yeah, so
does any VR headset have it where the opening menu is a 3D space?
Oh, there's got to be, but I don't know.
I mean a headset where it is the default, like the company have said this is how it starts. No.
Yeah, I mean,
because what happens when you fire up the Quest?
When you fire up the Quest, you're standing in a 3D environment, but everything you're doing is still on just like a flat screen. It's like it's not a 3D menu by any stretch.
I mean, to be honest, I do think yes, firing it up and then you're in a room and you have to walk over to interact with stuff.
Yeah.
I think that does sound great, but honestly, most people you fire up, you just want to get straight on the menu and just choose where you want to go.
Yeah.
So I do think there is a balance and act between it. Going back to the thing about that commercial and your collectibles, I know it did relate a lot to the PlayStation stars. And this is, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it on screen, everyone, but these are my collectibles. And I've actually got the PSVR headset and some Astrobot stuff. Have you been getting any of the collectibles, Brian? Because I think the PSVR headset is actually available.
Isn't that the Stars program? Isn't that what the collectibles are for? Yeah, I'm queued. Like, they haven't allowed me into the Stars program yet. There's too many people. And
what?
Yeah, everybody in the chat, let us know if you're in the Stars program or if you're queued to get in.
I didn't even know there was a queue for it.
Yeah, they're like, thanks for signing up, Bri. We'll see you in a couple months when there's room for you. And I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't even have that shit yet. Yeah.
Yeah, I did not. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
anyway, to answer the question, I would say expect less at launch and possibly more down the road. PlayStation Home wasn't there at the launch of the PlayStation 3, and that evolved over the course of that console's lifespan. I would expect to see, if we see something along those lines or even a better interface, I think that's something that'll come later down the line. I think they want to make sure that the hardware and I know that the hardware and software people are different people, but I think Sony is focused on having this holiday successful PS5 sales, and then obviously successful PSVR 2 launch following the holidays, and then kind of like adjusting their focus as time goes on. And I think the more people that buy it, I think the more money they'll spend on things like, they want a different UI. Okay, let's investigate that. Oh, they want a place like Home. Let's investigate that. But they're not going to do it if the sales are similar to PSVR 1.
The the part of the question about are they going to be flat or 3D trophies notifications? I mean, on the one hand, when you think of the actual trophies, the novelty will wear off very quickly. It's another gold trophy. Like, they all look the same, but the trophy icons themselves are always quite interesting when they're designed for the games. So there could be 3D versions like that. They don't even have to be that complicated. They could just be, deep versions of those flat images that you can hold, and so that could be kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I do think the PlayStation Stars collectibles, because they are 3D, they do rotate and you can see around them. I think they will have some place that they exist within. I think there is going to be some kind of environment that is created and released at some point. Yeah. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it would be, and whatever it is, I'm fine with. Like, really, I'm so much more concerned about the games, and so much more concerned about ease of access. I've complained before about how when I put on the VR headset and then I click the one move controller and I have to wait. Once it syncs, then I have to click my name and say, okay, that's me. And then I turn on my other move controller and I have to wait. And then once it syncs, I have to click my name. And I was like, so these are all barriers to entry. These are all things that make me go, oh man, I just want to get into the game. And for whatever reason, when you have,
I even do that every time.
Yeah,
because I've done it so many times now. I forget how many times I have to press the PlayStation button.
When you have a VR headset on, for whatever reason, it just makes the whole thing feel so much more cumbersome, right? It's just like, why can't we just speed this up? Like, just assume that it's me, PlayStation. Like, I signed in, turned on the VR headset. That I'm the one using it. Like, and then give me an option to do something else if I want to, right? To hold the button down and then assign it to somebody else. But how frequently is that going to be a thing? Just assume that it's me, PlayStation, right? I've got the headset on, assume that the Move controllers are both me. And so basically I just, we talk about a virtual environment or a 3D space or something, but like, again, that's all friction. That all adds to slowing down the process between me putting on the headset and me getting in the game. And so as long as whatever they come up with is speedy and lets me jump right in, then I'm happy.
And on the other end, Brian, I remember there was a time where when I finished playing a VR game and I wanted to play a flat screen game, I would exit the game and then I would close the game down and then I would restart the console because it was quicker to do that than it was to turn each individual.
I still do that.
Actually, I think I still do that now as well. Does anyone else do that in the chat?
Right.
Because if you restart the console, it will go back into the game, and then it'll be like you need to plug in your VR headset to, and you're like, no, I just want to go in to close it. No, you need to put in your headset. And I'm like, oh, goodness sake.
Just reset.
So it's funny. There are lots of tiny. I call them like integrated microaggressions from Sony. Just like
integrated microaggressions.
Yeah,
I love it.
This is it. It's just things that shouldn't be there, and they're like, it's just a little thing that we can know. When you're doing that every time you're VR gaming, it's a problem.
We got 5 plantains from Random Node, but no comment. So thank you very much for the donation. We appreciate it. And then one final viewer takeover question before we really get the show moving in full gear. 23 goddamn minutes into the show. Corix to GameCat asks, with the more expensive prices of PSVR2 games, I'm not going to buy any games until I see your review first. Oh, thanks for trusting me. He says, how are you going to review PSVR2 games? Any ideas on how you might change the way you review games versus on how you do it now? It's an excellent question. As I've said before, I'm terrified of the quantity coming our way because I think at launch, we're going to see, I think, between 20 and 30 PSVR 2 games at launch, and I don't even know how to fucking handle that shit, right? Like, I've been a couple games behind on reviews and been like freaking out and like, I can't keep up with this. This is crazy. Like, I'm bad at time management. To be 20 or 30 games behind just sounds like a nightmare. Whereas everyone else is going to be like, look at all these games we get to play. I'm going to be like, look at all these games I got to play. It's going to be awful. I don't know. AJ's got his own channel that he's running. Miles got his own channel that he's running. Wes has his own channel that he's running. So people have said, oh, you can just ask those guys to help out. And I'm like, no, I think I don't think we're going to be in any different situation this generation than we were this generation. And so the answer is I'm going to just review them one by one. I will say the one big difference, and currently there's absolutely I haven't had any contact with any PR people at Sony. It doesn't seem like that I'll be getting a headset prior to launch at this point to get a jump on some of this stuff, right? So I might be flying by the seat of my pants day one, being like, okay, let's get a hardware review out. Let's start reviewing these games. Let's do an unboxing, all this stuff, like day one. I will say the one thing that I've thought about is when I reviewed PSVR 1 games, especially once I started giving them a score, the idea, the scores were really related to like, it was almost like I was like 7 out of 10, and it might have just said in big fucking letters in a parentheses after, for a PlayStation VR game, right? This is a 7 out of 10, but not when compared to normal gaming, when it's compared to the PSVR ecosystem, right? And I think we're going to get to a place where I can just review games normally, right? Where it's like, I was like, this is a 7 out of 10 compared to any game of the generation, compared to any game that's come out in the last 10 years that's it, coming out soon or whatever. Like I feel like there was a buffer. There was like this like PSVR buffer. I was like, oh, this game's really good, 8 out of 10. But when you compare it to a flat screen game, it's like not that great at all. And so I think you will see scores drop considerably when it comes to PSVR 2 games. Just to kind of reflect how good games actually can be on PSVR 2. But that's. It's just something that's been going around in the back of my mind a little bit, and I have no idea, once I put the headset on, if I'll be able to make those kind of distinctions. Hopefully I will. I don't know. Miles, do you have any plans for youtube.com/Miles to be covering PSVR 2 stuff over there? I know that you're kind of like a jack of all trades. You're covering a lot of different topics.
Yeah, master of none. That's always the latter part of that slogan.
Hey, listen, I didn't say it. You said it.
No, I know I said that. I wasn't saying you were suggesting that. That's fine. It's like when people say, "Oh, Miles, you got a nice voice, like should be for radio," and I was like, and then I always turn it into a backhanded compliment. No, you mean like I've got a face for radio? I was like, no, look, I mentioned before, I'm super excited about the broadcast functionality. The whether it's having access to the live chat and having it in your ear. The terrible functionality of broadcasting through the PlayStation console, or trying to make do just with the low quality of how games look on flat screen. From what we've seen of previews, especially with Ian from Eurogamer, the previews look really good. Like when you're, because the other thing about VR is people's heads move around a lot, you know, where their eyes are looking. I also know that the way it sort of cuts off the screen as well. So when you're showing people, and it is actually using the full screen view, they won't be able to make. I think it was in Saints and Sinners, they could never see the health bar, and like where your ammo is, because it was just off. It was cut off screen, and so all those mini things that individually don't seem like a big deal in the grand scheme of things have always made broadcasting VR games just always feel underwhelming, and especially when you're trying to sell the platform and like explain how immersive it is, it's very, very difficult. So look, I'm definitely going to be up for making gaming a regular feature. I think to the point about, do the rest of us review games, I think we'll always chip in on the discussions on these live shows. The reason I got interested in PSVR without Parole was because of Brian's awesome reviewing style. There could be an argument that just before PSVR2 comes out, we do a special GameCast live where we try and drive patrons up and stuff like that. And maybe one day we can get you an editor, Brian, because that would alleviate so much for you. And I speak as someone who is going through that process at the place I work at the moment. My boss is like, no, Miles, we need you to do more of the stuff that you do, and then, take off and get the editors to do, so you can do more of the things that only you can do. And that's the same with you, Brian. You need to be reviewing and, networking and stuff like that. Editing is stuff that we need to like hand on over to someone else. So that's what comes to mind when I think about it. So, I've got a real good vibe about where the community is, and like the amount of people that have jumped on board since PSVR2 has been not only announced, but has now gone up on pre-orders. Everyone's now realizing it's in sight, and things are only going to get more and more exciting. And so just really grateful for everyone who's tuned in. And I think that the months and years ahead are going to be really, really exciting for this channel. And I think we will look back at this and smile at how far things have come, because they've come so far already, and it's only going to get better.
Yeah. It's only going to get better, and it's only going to get better, really, as long as Sony shows their commitment to PSVR2, which is sort of the chat that's been happening in our live chat right now, Miles. I don't know if you've been paying attention, but they are having a conversation that's completely different than what we're talking about, which is totally fine. I think half the fun of watching the show is watching the chat. It does seem like a lot of cats are concerned about PlayStation VR2 and the lineup and whatever else. Let's Rock 82 says that Sony's going to announce full support for Gran Turismo 7 to save their game on PSVR2. Sony must show the commitment with AAA titles. Great Tantrum agrees and says that in Ace Combat full VR support. And then we got I think it's supposed to be, it's not Satan's Child, it's Santan's Child. It's close, man. It's real fucking close. Supports of flat screen games doesn't show support. It makes VR look like an also ran, which I don't think I've really heard from too many people. Ports of flat screen games, making them VR AF, essentially hybrid games. Here we are 6 years into PSVR 1, still begging for BioShock VR. Like, not even a new BioShock game, right? BioShock, the first game, VR, right? Just dying to play that in VR. And I think the game that you and I say, Miles, all the time is like, if there's one game that could really sell PSVR 2 headsets, it wouldn't be some new IP. It wouldn't be some new new first party game from Sony, it would be Grand Theft Auto 5 or Grand Theft Online VR, right? And so I do think that it's a little short sighted. I think we need everything. We need flat screen ports into VR, and we need true VR titles, games that were built from the ground up for VR.
Yeah, I mean, we always talk about specific IPs in games like Grand Theft Auto 5 or Fortnite or Destiny 2, but it's also about the types of gamers as well. And Gran Turismo 7 was just mentioned, which I think is an excellent, title to have there on launch or within the first year. But when I sort of go a bit back away from that as an IP, in terms of the type of gamer, yeah, there are a lot of people that are enthusiastic driver sim players. Like, they get all the driving games, if it's Formula 1 or Gran Turismo 7. I have friends of mine, gamer friends, who they have their own party chat, and they're like every other day playing Gran Turismo and just racing with each other. There are massive, vibrant driving, gaming communities. And so having one of those games, a top tier driving sim, would get all those people to do it, because it just takes a few of those enthusiastic people going, yeah, I can't play flat screen anymore. You just got to come into VR, and then everyone gets it. And so that's the same with first-person shooters. We need to find, again, the specific IPs are important, but the ripple effect isn't just about people who are fans of those IPs. It's people that are fans of those genres. Right. And so for horror, we need something big. First-person shooters is going to be more interesting, because straight away we think of Call of Duty. Anyone who's been paying attention to the news with these Activision issues with Xbox and PlayStation, and a lot of the comments each of them have been making about each other, the future of Call of Duty is uncertain. Having a VR version seems like a no-brainer, but it's complicated. But if it's not Call of Duty, like, what are some of the other big first-person IPs that Bethesda doesn't own? Because I'm thinking of Doom. Like Battlefield has seemed to struggle. I guess Destiny is one, but Destiny is kind of a different type of first-person shooter when we think of deathmatch. I know Firewall 0 Hour is going to be great, but that's going to remain a tactical shooter. Yeah. But yeah, I just think that we've got to think about it of like, and maybe that's a conversation for another time, of like, what are the top IPs of each genre that we'd like to see?
Yeah, for sure. It's just the option for people like us who, and I say like us, insinuating that you and everybody else here in the chat is just like me. But I know that's not the case. But so when I say people like us, I mean people like me who kind of like lost some interest in flat screen gaming, and possibly was already losing interest in flat screen gaming when VR came along. And so when I see a game like the Callisto Protocol or the new Dead Space remake coming out, or Resident Evil 4, these are the games that I'm like, these are right up my alley, but I'd rather play them in VR, and I might not actually play them at all if they're not in VR. And so ports of flat screen games, I think, are essential, because there's a bunch of people like us who are like, you know what, this is how I prefer to play games now. So it's not like, as I forget the commenter's name, I'm sorry, who called it an also ran. No, it's literally giving people a new, more immersive way to play these games that have already spent millions of dollars in development, that would be impossible to make solely for VR because of the limited audience, right? You wouldn't make your money back financially. It would be just an absolute disaster. You'd never see that studio again. This is the greatest way to do it. This is a transitionary generation. This generation is going to rely on hybrid games, going to rely on ports of flat screen games, because there's just no other way to do it. We want AAA games. Well, this is how it's going to have to happen. I think Horizon is kind of exemplary. Horizon Call of the Mountain. It's sounding like an 8-hour game, maybe longer if you take your time and explore and do everything that there is to do. But there's no way they could have made a built from the ground up true Horizon game, open world, with 70 hours of gameplay, because they never would have recouped their losses. All right, this is the reason we got Call of the Mountain. This is why we're getting what we're getting, is because VR isn't there yet, not from a technical standpoint, but from a financial standpoint. It's just not viable to create a built from the ground up VR game yet. Not really, not with those kind of production values.
I like that you mentioned Callisto Protocol. I'm so excited for that game. And it also made me smile because I always felt the Dead Space remake out of the two is the one that I thought, yeah, because of that company's background, they are most likely to create a virtual reality port for it.
Yeah.
But actually, if you look at, I mean, Glenn Schofield, absolute gaming legend of Striking Distance Studio with the Callisto Protocol. He was on Wired magazine on their YouTube channel, you know, where they get like experts in different areas to like answer questions about their industry. He was getting asked questions about what it is to make horror games. If you haven't seen it, everyone, check it out. Really, really great. But the Callisto Protocol have just done a multi-part documentary. I think it's still been released on PlayStation's YouTube channel.
Oh, really?
About making it, which I've started watching. It's amazing. And I think today they've released a what's it called? A live action trailer for Callisto Protocol, which again, I was like, oh my God, this is all live action. So the fact that PlayStation are positioning, it just feels like how it was with Death Stranding. Okay, it's a third party, but there's a really close relationship there with Sony. Mm-hmm. And the fact that I'm seeing all this happening and how innovative Glenn Schofield is, he always talks about immersion. He was asked a question about, horror movies and horror games and the difference. He's like, nah, it's about the immersion in games to feel like you're there. And we all know the most immersive you can be in a game is being in it, in virtual reality. And so, I don't know anything, but if there was someone in the industry I would trust to make a VR port, it would be Glenn Schofield.
Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, I'll have to check that out because I've been curious. I've been curious about Callisto Protocol ever since it was first announced. I was like, oh my God, this is like the Dead Space game that we haven't gotten in years. And there's obviously some shadiness going on, I think, right now based on what they've announced for the deluxe version, which is like death animations hidden behind the paywall. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, you got to buy a season pass for a game. None of it seems to make any sense.
Yeah, he has spoken out about that on Twitter, and my understanding is that isn't the case anymore. He says the only stuff you get in the season. Oh, I mean, that could be right, but he tweeted something along the lines of the only things you get in the season pass they have not created yet. So he says everything they've created is going to be available to everyone.
Okay,
so
interesting.
Yeah,
I'll have to dive deeper into that.
I think there is a trophy where you have to find every death scene. You have to die in every single way.
I hate that. I hate that you have to be bad at a game to get the trophies for it. Right? It's like it just feels like a waste of time. But
I know this is a really weird comparison, but Island Time VR, the last trophy I had to get wasn't the survive for 20 minutes. It was die so many times. So like the last trophy was me just setting myself on fire again and again.
It's like the last trophy was just you in Groundhog Day, like throwing yourself off of bridges and blowing yourself up. Yeah. I'd love to get to the show, but we've got a couple tips to handle first. First comes from Brett Rapp with a $5 tip. Brett says, do you think that if Quest 3 comes out next year, it'll take a lot of the PSVR2's momentum? I don't think so, because I think the Quest 3 specs are fairly well known at this point, and it's still a couple generations behind, and I think personally, a couple generations from where VR needs to be right now. It's great for all the people who need wireless headsets out there, that they're going to get a nice little boost in graphical fidelity. But as far as, dude, you're still dealing, unfortunately, with a small onboard hard drive, still dealing with a mobile chipset. And so you're getting games that don't look terribly good and can't even be terribly long, if you want them to have, any kind of production values. So it's kind of a shame because I hate looking out there at the future of VR and seeing that Sony's the only one leading the charge. Sony's amazing when there's competition, but they're not so amazing when there's no competition. And I would love for the Quest 3 to suddenly be this competitor where it would step up and just absolutely, with a standalone headset competing head to head with a wired headset. I think that would get Sony to get their ass in gear, man, and make a wireless dongle for the headset. Make sure that that the games are just mind blowing, and be talking to every single studio and scoop up exclusives. But I don't think they see it that way right now. So because of that, yeah, I don't think Quest 3, I'm sure, will sell great because they'll probably sell at a good price point and it'll be standalone. But I don't think it's gonna take PSVR 2's momentum because there still won't be AAA console quality games on the Quest 3.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to pushing VR forward, it's not entirely down to the hardware, and I know that's an obvious point to make, but it's more to put focus on the fact that innovation comes in the software and the games that are made. And yes, Meta has some great talent on board. I mean, John Carmack, another gaming legend from the id Software Doom era. Whenever he does a talk for Meta, it's a fascinating listen. Just a really, really interesting person who really understands the platform, and I think actually is going to be pushing it in many great ways. And they've obviously acquired studios like Camouflage with Iron Man, and a great studio. But when you compare it to Sony and the titans of developers, like on magnitudes of scale of getting Naughty Dog to come in maybe, or getting they've got Firesprite working with Guerrilla Games, having that working with the tech is going to really innovate, because it's about what you can do with. It's not just like we need to keep upgrading the hardware. It's now what can we do with this hardware. And when you always think about the end of a console cycle, The Last of Us Part 2, I mean, I can still remember certain scenes in that. I was like, how is this on a PlayStation 4?
Yeah.
Like, unbelievable. And Insomniac Games, when the Spider-Man Miles Morales came out, and Ratchet and Clank, some of the staff were saying on interviews when they were talking about the PlayStation 5 hardware, they said, you've seen nothing yet. Like, we've barely scratched the surface of what we can do with this hardware. And that is super, super exciting.
Dude, and I keep hearing that over and over and over behind the scenes, that we're literally just scratching the surface of what the PlayStation 5 can do, and that PSVR 2 is going to be a big part of that whole, moving forward, seeing what PSVR 2 is capable of is like just Call of the Mountains, nothing. And so,
all right, you heard it here, folks. 0 out of 10 already.
Right, okay. 0 out of 10. It's nothing. Yeah. Yeah, dude.
You're right, Brian.
There's so much I want to say to reassure people, Miles. There's so much I want to say, but there's also so much I'm NDA'd about that. Like, I'm like, I just, like, rather than tease you guys and try to reassure you without any evidence to back it up, without any evidence I can talk about, it's painful, and it'd be just as painful for you. So I'm going to shut up, because everything I want to say right now would just be like, dude, trust me. Dude, just trust me. That's my source. Dude, trust me. So just I don't know, man. Just have faith is all I got to say. Just have faith. Random.
Well, the only thing I was going to say on the back of that, Brian, was that we talk about the PSVR 2 and also the PS5, and it's the symbiosis of these two things that Sony has control of. It's optimizing not just each of these pieces of hardware, but it's how they interact with each other as well. And there's no one else doing that in the VR market right now.
Yeah, it's true. Random note with the 25 Plantain says, you guys are such PlayStation shills. You never mentioned Switch or Xbox VR. Sellouts! Also, who's up for some VR action after the podcast, folks? Thank you, Random Note. We love you. That's funny. Also, I saw AJ in the chat says, tell us about the chainsaw, which is also very funny. Genetic Blasphemy, the Chrome Colossus Cat with the $2 tip says, Project Morpheus 2 is mere minutes away. It is. Project Morpheus 2. That's what they should have called it. Hey, let's take a brief detour, Miles, from talking about PlayStation VR 2 and switch gears to something we don't get to talk about nearly as much anymore, and that's PlayStation VR 1.
Oh.
Craziness. Absolute craziness.
I have that.
Yeah.
I have that.
Dude, we all have that. We all have that, right?
Whoa!
Is it because you pre-ordered? Is that why you have it? Yeah, so this is dude, I couldn't believe it. One of the developers what a great question. What's this developer's name? Game Boom VR. One developer's Game Boom VR was hanging out in our Discord and just kind of dropped a bunch of knowledge on us, and decided to tell us that a new PSVR1 game is coming coming our way. And that game is called Cooking Simulator VR. Let me bring up the trailer because it's so infrequent that we have. Here, you know what? Let's just fucking watch it.
When Brian was telling me about this beforehand, I kept saying, "So what's it called?" He's like, "Cooking Simulator VR." Oh, okay. I thought you were telling me it was a Cooking Simulator VR game.
Yeah,
but that is actually what it's called. And fair enough. If you can get that name, go with it.
Go with it. Yeah. So I'm gonna bring up the trailer and we'll just fucking play it, man. We'll just turn up the sound and everything. So we'll just do it.
And what do you do in it?
I think you simulate cooking.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Here.
Good.
Let's check this shit out. Blink.
I like how all the vegetables roll around in there. Nice.
Yeah, the physics look good.
It does.
Yeah.
It takes me back to the days of Zenith.
The explosions are also good. All right. Yeah, I would ignore the date on this. The date comes. I think this is the Quest version or the Steam version or something. I don't know what that date is referencing. But I mean, Miles, this is kind of crazy, right? I mean, where every other developer is being like, no, just kidding. Our game's not coming to PSVR 1. You know, we saw it with Ultra Wings 2. We saw it with Zero Caliber. We saw it with Do Not Open very recently. Among Us. I mean, just nonstop, developer after developer after developer, just dropping support for the PlayStation VR 1 version in order to say, oh, our game's coming to PSVR 2. Then we get this out of nowhere. These devs are like, hey, this is still coming. Like, what do you think, man?
It's cool. I mean, the physics are nice. I like how the vegetables roll around and stuff like that. And then when it got to the 10-pin bowling with the kind of lost me there. It's cool, but I hate to do this a lot when I see a lot of these VR games. Yeah. It always makes you go, you know what would be cool? And then I talk about a completely different game that's not out yet. Right. And I'm like, Overcooked VR. I would love to play Overcooked, like multiplayer. You know, you're racing against the clock. You know, we have these sort of components in games, but there's nothing really been like as good as Overcooked. So, because I'm looking at this thinking, what is actually going to be the grind, or what is the progression in the game? Right. Is it just that you learn to? I mean, also, there's a lot there. Like when I'm looking at all those different vegetables, it just looks like a mess. Like, look at that on there. Just, you know, all like it's impressive. Like there's lots of different vegetables, but I'm just like, I don't know. It kind of, it does look like a real simulator as opposed to fun. Yeah. Except the putting the gas canister in a microwave and, you know.
Here's the problem, Miles, and I think I'm right there with you, but for a different reason. You mentioned during this trailer, this reminds me of Zenith, because in Zenith, you collect ingredients, you pick fruit off trees, you pick vegetables out of gardens, right?
Yeah.
And then you take all those things and then you set up shop and then you chop them up and you follow different ingredients, and this is the swordsman dilemma all over again. Whereas Swordsman is such a fun game, but it only does one little thing. Whereas prior to VR, that one little thing that it does was available in all games as just one of the many things that you do. And then VR came along and started to segment these different activities into full games. Be like, what do you do in this game? Oh, you cook. Oh, that's it? That's like one of the 100 things I did in Animal Crossing. I don't know if you cook in Animal Crossing, but you get the idea. The same thing with sword fighting. Oh, I sword fight in Swordsman? That's crazy. That's one of a million things I did in Demon Souls like fucking 15 years ago. And so so I'm right there with you as far as this is concerned. Like I this could very well be fun. This could be a lot of fun, especially if they nail the physics and just all the interactions and they make it actually fun to cook. But at the same time, I was like, I just want them to implement this into Zenith, right? Let me have more stuff to do when it comes to cooking when I set up shop in Zenith, right? I want this to be a small part of a much larger game.
When I see that last scene where everything is on fire and they're going, and then all the sprinklers go on, the feeling I get when I see that is that feeling where you play a game that has a lot of progression, and then you turn on the like infinite money cheat, and you go, "Oh, I've got everything," and then instantly you feel it in you of like, "Oh, okay, I'm done with this game." Like it completely ruins it. When I see that entire place on fire, I literally got the feeling of like, yeah, I can imagine doing that, and it's like, oh, now what? Oh, like I've burned everything down, and kind of I've had absolute chaos. Nothing's gonna be as high as that again. I mean, look, they might throw a curveball. There might be some moment in it where like the lights go off, and then people come swinging through the window, and it turns into this massive story where you have to escape the kitchen, and then like there's a zombie apocalypse. Like if stuff like that happens, it could be a nice surprise. I feel like it's just going to be putting vegetables between pans and then blending them, and then I mean, it looks like there's no one there. It looks very lonely. You're not serving people, so you cook it, and then you don't even get to eat it.
Right.
That's the prize when you spend time cooking food, is you get to eat it, or you give it to someone who gets to enjoy it. What's going to happen here?
Yeah, I mean, and
you just burn it down.
It's not like we haven't gotten any other food prep games on PSVR. We've got 3 counterfight games, right? And so you're prepping food and you're making them for customers who are standing right in front of you, and you're trying to do it fast. We've got Dead Hungry. We've got the VR the Diner Duo. There's more that I can't even think of. I'm Hungry. There's a bunch of them, man. There's a bunch of them.
Something to eat. Oh, you meant in game. Sorry.
Right. It's called I'm Hungry. So I'm a little bit concerned that this won't bring anything new to the table, but again, it's nice to have a game slated for PSVR 1 launch, which leads me to ask old Darth's question: who believes Saints and Sinners 1 is still coming to PSVR 1? Wait, he must mean who believes Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 is still coming to PSVR 1. I'm assuming that's what he meant. Do you think so, Miles? Do you think Skydance is still going to release? I mean, they've got this staggered launch thing going on, right? They're releasing on Quest December 1st. PCVR is early next year, I believe, and then PSVR 2 is in March. Like, at what point do you say, well, we have to prioritize the PSVR 1 version? And the answer is, I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I just honestly, I know this is not something I should be saying in my position on this show. I just don't care because I don't want it to come out. I want it to come out on PSVR 2, so I'm not having to play it on the PSVR 1 first.
Yeah.
I want my first experience to be in PSVR 2. And someone just asked me if I played Star Tenders. I did platinum it. But that's different because that had a progression system. You were working towards something in a story.
See, I don't think it is different.
Someone else said this looks like an open sandbox game. It does, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. Like, I know I'm being very negative, and like I will play it and I'll give it a go.
Yeah.
But I'm just sort of giving my impressions from the trailer, which is it looks very detailed, which is impressive. It looks like it will be an interesting experience for someone who's not played VR before.
Yeah.
And to be honest, you still need games like that are new. But if you're going to do it on the new PSVR 2, not the end of the PSVR 1 cycle.
So to answer Oldar's question, I feel confident we're still getting Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 on PSVR 1. I do.
I think it will happen.
Yeah, it just might be a little bit. Like, they've got to make sure. I mean, the fact that they're not there at the PSVR 2 launch, I think is telling. Right? Because why wouldn't you want to be there at launch? Like, launch titles do really well historically. Not that Saints and Sinners needs a boost from any headset launch. Like, they're a well-known IP. They've got a good reputation, and so I think they'll do fine no matter what. But if they're not getting out for launch, I think, again, the priority level of the PSVR 1 just keeps falling further and further down the ladder. So I think we'll probably see it like a while after PSVR 2's launch. Okay, Cooking Simulator VR, that's a thing. There's also, hey, Looper, the Underground Game Cab, the €2 says Blind Spot had some good cooking. I don't even remember that. I don't know if that's a thing. I think Looper's just making fun of my love for Blind Spot. I think that's what's really happening here. I like to bring up Blind Spot whenever possible, and I feel like I missed this opportunity. I don't remember cooking in Blind Spot. Yeah. Okay, so another PSVR game just got announced yesterday when the dev from Game Boom VR, or whatever the hell the dev studio is called, visited the Discord. And that game is called Prison Simulator. Did these guys make all the simulator games? Like, we should really check this out. Or are they just capitalizing on the simulator trend? Let's figure that out in just a second here.
There's one thing in this trailer I really like. Let's see if the game cats know what it is.
All right.
And do they like it as well?
Here, let's go to full screen, and I'm going to turn up the sound so people can hear this. Let's watch the beginning again with sound this time. There it is. Okay.
It's I mean, look, this game just looks so problematic. I mean, at first I was very impressed that it wasn't escape a prison.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, it's interesting. But it's like, yeah, so what, you go into a cell and then smack someone over the head who's trying to take a crap? Like, I just see that and I'm like, I love that's what they've led with. What's the first shot that's going to sell it? Yeah, it's a guy going into a cell and a guy's on the crapper, and then he's just going to hit the cups first, and then like they're pepper spraying guys in the yard. And I mean, yeah, I mean, what is going on here, Brian?
I mean, it's just that's what all the simulator games are about, right? Just like being absolutely silly and stupid, and it is funny. Look, Mom on TV, and I'm a game cat. It says I'd rather be a prisoner in prison VR, which I would too, man. I'd much rather be the guy trying to escape the nasty correctional facility workers, right? And slowly, like, steal a spoon from the dining hall and slowly dig a tunnel and cover it up, when the guards aren't looking, dig a tunnel through my my jail cell. I would much rather be the guy fighting against, like, all of these evil forces. Let's pretend that, like, we're in jail for something we didn't deserve, like smoking weed or something, right? We're not like some kind of child killer. Right. So we want to rescue the guy who just wants to go smoke some pot. That's what we're doing. This looks. These are the same people who made Thief Simulator. I just looked it up over on Steam. It looks like Game Boom has done Cooking Simulator, this game, and Thief Simulator. And so there's a lot of simulator games that they didn't make, but Thief Simulator got decent reviews, I think. So this could be fun.
Like it has drunken bar fight vibes.
It does have drunken bar fight vibes. Yeah. So
I don't know. I'm definitely going to play it, but it says wish list now.
Yeah.
2023.
Yeah, it's so there is a Prison Simulator game, I believe, out currently, and then Prison Simulator VR is its own separate release. And so even on Steam, this game isn't out. So I wonder if there'll be a simultaneous launch or what the deal is. But All Your Art's History says people are too sensitive now. Just let me beat these criminals. Hey, listen, if that's your thing, that's what you're getting. So lucky you.
The only justification for that first bit with the guy on the toilet is if that's like a gold trophy. It's like, bludgeon a guy in the head on the crapper, gold trophy. All right, let's go for the plat.
Yeah,
let's go for the plat.
Yeah,
and you're right. He might be a horrific murderer. In which case, fair enough. Fair enough.
Stike Gamer, the VRAF Game Cat with the €2 says Prison Simulator is like going full Zimbardo study. I don't know what the Zimbardo study is, but I feel like I've heard of it. Let's Google that real fast. Let's see. This is a Stanford prison experiment. Oh wait, I saw a documentary about this. They were interested in finding out whether the brutality reported among guards in American prisons was due to the sadistic personalities of the guards, or had more to do with the prison environment that they were in. And so they just had people role play, like for long lengths of time. Some are prisoners and some are guards, and it was very interesting to watch the people who, these are just normal people off the street. In the sense, the second they're given like this control, they fucking abuse it, right? So
that's what I'd do.
Yeah.
Searching a prison. Okay, duties of the key. This is the description of Prison Simulator VR. As a key, you will have many tasks such as accepting new prisoners, searching a prison cell, and prisoners in order to find contraband. So is there going to be like a cavity search minigame? You know, who knows?
Lots of jokes in the chat about don't drop the soap.
That could be a minigame.
Or maybe you should drop the soap.
If it's for a gold trophy, I'll do it.
Miles do anything for a gold trophy, and apparently that even means anal sex.
I like the idea that, you know, would you play My Name is Mayo? Would you tap a mayo jar for ages? It's like, yeah.
Wow.
What was the American? Was it? I'm going to butcher the name because we don't have it in the UK, but it was on a Family Guy, like the first episode. What would you do for it? Is it a Klondike bar or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you stand on one leg? And he's like, would you? That's like a monkey. It's when Peter Griffin wasn't interested in TV anymore,
right? And
so he's watching it and he's going, ooh, 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 and he goes, would you kill a man? And he's going, and then as soon as you hear the gunshot, Peter Griffin starts smiling. He's like back into trash TV again.
Yeah. Family Guy used to be way funnier because it used to be way edgier.
The opening 3 seasons, I started watching season 1 again, and I remember as a kid when it first came out, and it blew my mind, and it's still one of the best seasons ever. It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Professor Lilith with the $5 tip says, Happy Thursday. I don't even know what day today is. She writes, Happy Thanksgiving, Game Cats. This week's Sunday multiplayer is Eagle Flight. Shoot your enemies and fly away laughing. Do you have to laugh when you fly? Or can you show some sympathy? Can you be like, I just had to kill you. It's the game. I'm sorry. Or just maniacally laugh. Dude, Eagle Flight, even at launch. I remember getting Eagle Flight at launch, and like it was almost impossible to get a game going. I think at best I've only played with 2 other people, and it's really designed for 4 players. So take advantage of this Sunday's multiplayer meetup. Join our Discord. This is where everything gets organized. And so it happens at 2 p.m. Eastern every single Sunday. And this week is Eagle Flight. If you own Eagle Flight and just sitting in your library, I bet you you've never played an actual full multiplayer game of Eagle Flight. Get in there. It's fun. And I say that having never played it with 3 full other people. Full. Played with like 3 half other people. I don't know what that means. Short? I guess if they're short, it doesn't make them half a person. It just makes them short, Brian. That's fucking rude. Fucking rude. Dude, I love American Dad Random Node.
I'm still laughing at that.
American Node is fantastic. Did they say American Node? Oh my God, I'm so done. American Dad is fantastic.
American Dad, I loved. I watched a couple of seasons. The one episode I remember was when he went to a refugee camp and he thought it was called Camp Refugi.
I remember that.
Yeah, that's like that episode. And he sends his kid there, and he's like, he sends loads of investment to like give them volleyball, and it's like, no, they need like food and shelter. He's like, come on, let's play volleyball. Right. Camp Refugi. Yeah,
Camp Refugi. Look, Mom, I'm on TV and I'm a game cat. Says, I have 8 PSN friends. How do I join Eagle Flight? Dude, really, just get on Discord and get into that, get into the channel where they're organizing this stuff. And so, and they will give you step-by-step instructions on exactly what to do, where to be, how to do it. But get in there. If you only have 8 PSN friends, you're the person we're talking to, like, because you're never going to get a full game of Eagle Flight if you don't get over there. So definitely do it. Thank you, Rody. He puts the Discord link in the chat. We appreciate you. Oh, that's nice. Awesome. Our Discord link has without parole in the URL. That's fucking amazing. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. the gaming news doesn't end there with Prison Simulator. We've got more PSVR2 news, and I think this.
Thank goodness it doesn't end with Prison Simulator. That would be a bad show.
Definitely be a bad way to end the show.
The title of the show, yeah.
Yeah, dude, we got news today, and this comes to us from the Dark Curry Discord, and that's that Undead Citadel is still a thing. That first of all, still a thing is great, right? We knew it was still a thing because a bunch of us played the Steam VR demo of the Horde mode, and that was awesome. But to know that it's still a thing for consoles, especially, is a big deal. So the news specifically, is that it's no longer a PlayStation VR1 title. We kind of heard whispers of that a few months back, but it is a PSVR2 title. And better than that, it's supposed to be a PSVR2 launch title. Have you been paying attention to like the trailers for this game, the gameplay of this game over the years, Miles? We've been talking about this game since 2018.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't engaged with it like in 2018, but obviously in more recent times, I've seen the trailers that come up again and again. I think it looks cool. And the fact it is a game that I'd be really interesting in getting to play. It currently is out on the Quest, isn't it?
No,
or is it not?
There's no Quest version planned, as far as I can tell.
Okay. Yeah, interesting.
So yeah, it hasn't come out on anything yet. And so what they said today, this was. It's always reassuring to hear like the specifics, right? The developer said that the game is complete. You can actually play through it from start to finish, right? Which makes you go, wow, that's fucking incredible, right? That must never happen with most games until very late in the development stages. And we can only assume that this development period has gone on for, well, we saw the first trailer of it in December of 2018, and it looked pretty good then, right? So it had to have had some time in the oven prior to that trailer, like at least a year, maybe 2 years, who the fuck knows? So we could be up to like year 5 or 6 of the dev cycle. And so knowing that you can finally, for the first time in that amount of time, play through it from beginning to end, and now they're just ironing out bugs and polishing things up, that's such a good thing to hear from a dev studio. And then
it really is.
But then also shocking to hear that it's going to be a PSVR2 launch title. I think that's as much as I want to believe Dark Curry and say that's amazing, I can't wait, I'm going to pre-order it the second you have it on the PlayStation Store. Part of me goes, I'll believe it when I see it. I don't know.
Sure.
Because we know that on DevNet, which is like Sony's system for developers, like you could start submitting your PlayStation VR2 games for certification the last month around this time. And because of the flood of like holiday games and games that are trying to get out for the PSVR2 launch, and because there's no dedicated team that takes care of just PSVR2 games or just VR games, that means they're also dealing with certification for a pile of other PlayStation 4 games, PlayStation 5 games, and all these other studios that are trying to get their work done before the holidays and get their games out. It's like, I just don't know if any games that are submitted for certification right now are actually going to make PSVR2 launch. And on top of that, doesn't sound like it's ready for them to even submit if there's still bugs and polishing to be done. So very, very curious, because obviously I think Sony gives some leeway to certain developers. I think we saw with Iron Man VR, like the turning in that game still stutters whenever you turn. And so there's like a lot of different games that seem like they shouldn't have passed certification, but Sony was like, oh, we'll help push you through kind of thing, right? We'll give you, we'll make sure that you meet your deadline. So I'm curious to see if Undead Citadel is one of those games, because everyone's just been kind of waiting for it for such a long time. Miles, we've got a tip from MRI Gamer here. $2 tip says, what are Miles' top 3 confirmed PSVR2 games so far?
Oh, interesting. So
just confirmed games, not launch games. Just confirmed PSVR2 games.
Okay.
Yep.
Because one of them on the list, definitely. I don't know if this has actually been said when it's going to come out, but Ghostbusters. We don't know when that's out, or is it going to be a launch?
Oh no, we have no idea. There's not even a launch date for the other headsets. Yeah.
Yeah. Ghostbusters, I'm super hyped for, just because it's End Dreams, it's a good IP, and it's a social game. it's built around that sort of co-op social experience, which I'm really really excited for. So yeah, Ghostbusters, Resident Evil 8. I've been holding off. I actually did rent Resident Evil 8 when it first came out, and then I sent it back straight away. I thought, no, I'm pretty sure this is going to have a VR launch title. I'll wait for that. So really excited. But I did play the demo of it, and the feeling of it, I like the actiony aspects of it. Really, really cool. And then if I'm allowed to go for one that's going to be, well, I say a free upgrade. Obviously, RE8 technically is getting a free upgrade. But No Man's Sky, a couple of my friends recently have been jumping back into it and have said, "Oh, Miles, you got to join us. It's getting addictive." And I was like, "This is why I've stayed away from it," because I think from a year or a year and a half ago, just because they kept updating it again and again, and every time I had to keep relearning it, I just said to myself, you know what? I can't wait to play this on PSVR2. I will wait for then. And so yeah, No Man's Sky, super hyped for. So Ghostbusters, Resident Evil 8, and No Man's Sky. What would your three be, Brian?
Oh, I have no idea. Oh no, I do have an idea. I'm very predictable. Obviously, Horizon, because it's just looks beautiful, and I think it's going to be one of the most VRAF games we've ever played, and also the most beautiful VR game we've ever played. I can't wait to dive into that and really get every single ounce of gameplay that I possibly can. I hope that they keep talking about crafting, and the only thing we've really seen is like wrapping a piece of rope or something around some rock or whatever. I don't even know, but I hope all the crafting is very hands-on like that, very VRAF, because I always found the crafting in like Minecraft and No Man's Sky to be like, oh, you point at a menu and then you drag it out, this icon onto something else. I'm like, we're in VR, man. Let me craft with my hands. Let me get to work. That's what Song in the Smoke did so well. So Horizon for those reasons. Also, obviously Village. I've beaten Resident Evil 7 more times than any other game in my entire life, and I've done most of those on stream with you guys. And so, my buddy Finn, who hangs out with me in voice chat sometimes, has talked about the exact same thing with Resident Evil Village, saying, Brian, if you love that element of Resident Evil 7, unlocking something every time you beat it and giving you another reason to play through it, he said there's just as much stuff in Village to convince you to play through it over and over and over again as it was for Resident Evil 7. And so that's the reason I'm excited for Village, even if it's not going to be as scary as Resident Evil 7 was. And then Switchback. Dude, the Switchback is the game that shouldn't exist, right? So we thought Supermassive was done with VR. We thought that maybe their relationship with Sony was a little bit bruised from all the crappy VR games that were put out. We know that they had a Killzone VR game in development that they weren't allowed to continue developing. So we kind of thought that relationship was hurt a little bit. And then here they are back for the launch of PSVR 2 with Switchback, which is essentially Rush of Blood 2. This game shouldn't exist at all, and it does. And so this is like the last guardian of the VR world. Like, how can you not be excited about that? We get to play something that we've begged for 6 years straight, and they finally went, oh, here you go. Like, just so casually. Oh, here you go. Wow.
Yeah. Having said that, that would actually be on my top three. So I'd swap No Man's Sky with it. I think No Man's Sky just has a lot of weight because I've had my mind set on that for such a long time as a PSVR2 title. But I also always felt surely they're secretly making a Rush of Blood sequel, spiritual successor. So having seen that, because I was always annoyed that Rush of Blood you can enjoy that much on the PS5.
Looper the Underground Game Cat with the €2 asks, are you still in the laundry room, Miles?
No. This is my office. Yeah.
I think we all know what Looper's talking about. If you've ever tried to,
no, I do too. It's just my office. I sort of have my washing machine in the kitchen downstairs, and tumble dryer just out there.
You are so about to get muted because I am. I'm gonna tell everybody.
What?
What a fucking crybaby you are in Resident Evil 7 that you are still stuck in the laundry room.
No, I'm actually past that. I went in the grating in the ground underneath. I'm actually in the next.
That's how you get to the laundry room.
No. They were talking about before you get to that part. Oh no, you're right. Yeah. So that is how you get to the laundry room.
So still in the laundry room then? Yeah.
No, I got out of that because I then went to. I don't want to spoil it for anyone what happens next
Yeah.
who's not played it. So, but yeah, I'm quite far. I'm at least another I mean, if I was Brian, probably another 60 seconds ahead of that.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah. Cheers for checking in though. But
yeah,
good laundry room. It is a good laundry room, very detailed. Yeah, because anyone who's seen the live stream, I spent a good time just walking around appreciating the detail and all the fabrics and the phone, and when you hold it up and it's like the dial tone and you hold it to each ear and it goes to each ear. So that's what I was doing for 8 minutes. And the door, I kept pushing the door open and running away from it because I was just, the physics of the way it opened was super cool.
Right. You've been muted for the last 10 minutes, by the way. Just everyone's been really enjoying all of the facial animations and the hand waving and
the facial animations are really good in that as well. Yeah.
No, you actually have not been muted, but man, I was ready to if you weren't ready to move on. Listen, the last game we got to talk about, and we're going to kind of rope this in with our conversation about the launch titles, is Kayak VR Mirage, and this game we've already talked about this game. This game is out on PC. It's considered one of the best looking VR games ever made, most realistic looking VR games. I guess I should say it that way. And so getting to play it on PSVR2 is going to be great. They announced it forever ago, but then just a couple days ago, within the last day or two, they announced it would be a PSVR2 launch title. Now, the cool thing about that is that whereas somebody like Undead Citadel says, oh yeah, we're going to be a launch title, with Kayak VR Mirage, there's actually a store listing. If you, at least in the United States, I don't know about over there in the UK, Miles. If you have to search for it, it doesn't show up on the PSVR2 page, which is maddening. That the nonsense is already starting over there on the PlayStation Store. But if you search for Kayak VR Mirage or Kayak VR, you'll find it, and it is indeed listed as a launch title. So it just has that air of authenticity about it that, so far, Undead Citadel doesn't have. But yeah, dude, I mean, are you excited for this one?
I am. And someone in the chat was saying, it's another sandbox game. Like, it is. But I don't know. I feel like, how much fun am I going to have with this? But if the immersion is done well, yeah, I think you could spend a lot of time in here just enjoying it. And it'll be a good workout as well. So, yeah, no, I'm excited.
Yeah. I think Professor Lilith is joking. Said I watched the Wolf in VR play. It seemed fairly fun. I like stealth. I think think Phantom Ops. Phantom Ops might be what you're thinking of. This is just kayaking. Although you probably know, it is on sale. People are asking about the PC VR price. It's currently on sale for like $18 on Steam. But so it's usually like what, 22 and change, something like that, $22, $23. Here's my issue. Yes, it looks beautiful. Is
there any white water rafting kayaking in this, where you're going down like really fast, choppy waters, or is it more just exploring open world? Which I get the impression it is.
It's a good question, and I can head on over to Steam and maybe check out a few of the pictures and see, because you figure that they would have.
I was looking. But...
Yeah, nothing. So here's my problem with it as we figure that out. It looks like there's quite a variety of different water types. I don't see any rapids, but the water physics obviously look amazing.
Oh, it looks
right.
Which is why they might not do the rapids, because it's like, if you're doing it that detailed to have stuff that choppy, then that's gonna use up a lot more GPU or CPU. So
look, Mom, I'm on TV and I'm a game cat. Says Kayak looks refreshing, and I think a lot of people are saying something similar. The problem, I think, is that it's going to be fun because there's like just a free exploration mode where you just get to whatever. There's time trials. There's actual racing involved, but there's no multiplayer. And I feel like a game that does have time trials, it does have like this competitive aspect to it. Very seldom am I the guy out there ever saying this needs multiplayer. A lot of people were like, I hope Saints and Sinners Chapter 2 has multiplayer. It's like, yeah, it'd be nice, but I can take it or leave it, right? A game like this, I think, really needs multiplayer. I want to look to my right and see you in your kayak, Miles, and be like, okay, let's do this, right? And actually feel competitive. I don't just want to be racing against a time. I want to see you there in the water with me. And let's be fair, I want to road rash the fuck out of this and like take my paddle and knock you over.
And smash you.
Yeah, whoa!
Knock you over, yeah.
Right? And you have to do this to like get back vertical.
Oh,
right?
Capsize would be amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. I want to tip you over, man. I played a lot of Road Rash as a kid. I want to take out a chain and just start smacking you with
That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, man, Road Rash was amazing.
Right. So this looks beautiful. It is going to be a launch title. It's awesome. And let's quickly answer the question, Miles. Are there too many launch PSVR games or PSVR2 games? There's been it's constantly. It seems like every other day. Here's another one. Here's another one. Here's another one. And we're not even there yet, man. Like Sony's got more to announce. We haven't had an official PSVR2 showcase or PSVR2 state of play, and so there's still a lot of questions about when certain games are coming. There's a bunch of games listed on the PlayStation Store right now as just coming soon. Right, like we don't know when Crossfire Sierra Squad's coming. It just says coming soon. We don't know when Firewall Ultra's coming. We assume that neither one of those will be launch titles. But I feel like even what we know right now, there's a lot of launch titles.
And there are a lot of launch titles, and I think there are going to be a lot more. And I think it's about just giving choice, isn't it? When it comes to we were talked at the start of the show about like the importance of genres and tapping into those. I think VR has tapping into genres is even more important for VR because you're asking people to invest their time and physical energy in these games. And so if it's something that they're really passionate about, they're really going to want to go in there and give it a go. So I mean, look, I'm really, really excited with the lineup. I think there's going to be many more announcements. I think we're still expecting some big games to be announced. At least I want there to be. But yeah, we're definitely going to be sport for choice. And before we just continue this conversation, AJ did mention in the chat that a multiplayer for Kayak Mirage is on the roadmap according to them.
Good. Yeah, and thank goodness because. And thank goodness for Racket Fury, I will say, because Racket Fury is the game that instilled in me that just because multiplayer isn't there at launch doesn't mean amazing multiplayer can't come later. I always feel like, if they're going to patch this in, it's going to be really janky. Like, how are they going to just like fucking shove that shit in there? And so now, yeah, I feel much more confident. Oh, the screen's just you. Hi, I'm back. Sorry about that. Like, I'm like researching because I saw somebody in the chat. I think it was, God, how far back did this go? Somebody in the chat. I think it was. I have no idea, but you can tell me in the chat. Oh, I think it was Kramer 3K. Just for comparison's sake, Kramer 3K asked how many PSVR 1 launch titles were there, right? And so while Miles was talking, and I swear I was listening, I went over to the virtual reality Wikipedia page for PSVR launch titles. And I got like a Sports Bar, World War Tunes, which was a demo, so I don't think we can even count that, right? Wayward Sky, Volume Coda, Until Dawn, Rush of Blood, Tumble VR, Thumper, The Playroom VR, The Assembly, Super Hypercube, Rise of the Tomb Raider Blood Ties, which is like an experience, but we'll still count it just for funsies. Riggs, Res Infinite, PlayStation VR Worlds, which again, collection of experiences. Super Stardust Ultra VR, which Loading Human, Keep Talking Nobody Explodes, Job Simulator, Hustle Kings VR, which is a terrible patch. Here They Lie, Headmaster, that's 20. Remember 20, that was after Headmaster, okay? Hatsune Miku Project Diva X, Harmonix Music VR, Eve Valkyrie, Eve Gunjack, Drive Club VR, Bound, Battlezone, Batman, Arkham VR, Ace Banana, Carnival Games. We're up to 30.
Yeah.
Okay, no, Carnival Games. So 29. It looks like 29, and with a couple of those being experiences and, more like demo type things. But I just listed off a ton of games in like Drive Club VR is about as close as we got to like a recognizable IP.
Yep.
So... and like lots and lots and lots of indie games. And so we're in a very similar situation, except I think the bar this time has been raised. I think there's a lot of great games on that list. I think we're already to the point where what we know is coming at launch or around launch. Village hasn't been confirmed for a PSVR 2 launch title, as far as I know, but you've got to assume that it is one. I feel like we're already at a higher level of quality. Not that those games weren't fun, and not that we're disparaging indie games even in the slightest. We fucking love indie games. That's all we had to play for 6 years. But I do think that we're already in a better place 3 months prior to launch than PSVR 1 was at launch, title wise.
Yeah, no, for sure. We're in a really good place, and we've still got months to go. So if I think there's a good range of games that feel like they are going to be making the most of the hardware. I think the issue would be if we just found it's just a load of games that are just getting better hardware that are going to make it smoother to play, but aren't really embracing the opportunity to make much more beautiful looking games. So yeah.
A couple comments I want to read out here. iCarly the Game Cat, which is the best name ever. $5 tip says, I've been out of the loop for a bit. Has there been any news on AIM compatibility or AIM 2.0 for Ultra, Firewall Ultra? That pretty much makes it or breaks it for me. The answer is no. You have been out of it for a while, because I feel like this comes up on almost every episode of GamesCast Live. Currently, there's been no talk of an AIM 2.0, and I think that when you talk about Ultra, Firewall Ultra, just as Firewall was really custom designed to not use Move controllers and to use the aim controller, I think Firewall Ultra is definitely being designed with the Sense controllers in mind. And so I think we're going to see, I think we're going to play Firewall Ultra and go, yeah, man, this really wouldn't work terribly well with a name controller.
Yeah, when it came, or actually even with all PSVR games with double-handed weapons, it always just feels odd. And for aiming, you just want to end up holding it with one hand, because then you know exactly where you're pointing. As soon as you've got two hands, you've got an extra tracking issue where it can just keep sliding off. And so, just better to have one hand and point it. So I'm looking forward to experiencing it with these new controllers, because again, I've never experienced VR. I mean, I used the HTC Vive many years ago when it first came out, but I've not played on the Meta Quest. And so to have really good tracking, I assume it's going to make holding two-handed guns feel just that much better.
And adaptive triggers, so that when you're grabbing the other part of the weapon, it won't just be like, oh, I'm holding the trigger all the way down. There'll be a thunk, right? Where it's like, it feels like I'm holding a gun. It's not just holding the trigger down and I see my hand lock in place. It's slightly more immersive than that.
Yeah, and you actually reminded me, I'm sure you spoke about it on one of the earlier shows this week, although I can't remember actually when it went up. You retweeted it. It was the video of the person playing Call of the Mountain and showing how it detects each finger.
Yeah, the finger touch detection, which, by the way, after examining the footage after the last episode that we did with Wes, we were talking about, it looks like they has great finger tracking. In fact, it's just great finger detection, right? It's right. Finger touch detection. So apologies if we led anyone astray and made everyone think that there's finger tracking, but that video made us think that there was, and it was just because Horizon was programmed so well to kind of mimic where your fingers are.
Well, that's it. And that's what we always talk about with do we want armless characters or not? Well, if it's done well, actually,
right,
the arms will be there.
Yeah, full body if it's done well. I mean, let's do it all the way. Yeah, and then one more comment, and then we'll jump into 20 questions. Also, we kind of answered the question, right? Are there too many games? No, there's never too many games, right? We want there to be something for everybody at the PSVR 2 launch. I think if we get Gran Turismo 7, to get that driving aspect in there to give us some more genres, I think that's great. Not everyone's going to be buying 20 games at launch. I don't think so anyway. And so for everyone out there to find 2 or 3 games that really interest them, I think is going to be really important. And will push people over the fence that are still kind of on the fence. Be like, oh, there's a driving game? Perfect. I waited for driving games to come out the entire lifespan of PSVR 1.
Yeah.
Here's a great one right at launch. Excellent. And then PLO617, PLO617 in the chat says, we should have gotten Alien Isolation for PSVR 2. The PC version had it in the files. Dude, so there is a glimmer of hope over on, I forget which website. People are reporting a rumor that Alien Isolation 2 is in the works.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And if
dude, I can't play it.
And if that's the case, if Alien Isolation 2 is in the works, that means that franchise, I mean, obviously Alien will never die, but the Alien Isolation franchise specifically is not dead. And I think, dude, we live in an era where everything gets re-released, everything gets remade. And so I think to hype people up for announcement of Alien Isolation 2, dude, remake Alien Isolation 1 on PlayStation 5, remake it, remaster it, whatever, and give it PSVR2 support. Amazing. And then we can all be hyped for Alien Isolation 2. I don't think hope is dead on that one.
It's a game that I'm ecstatic for that if it is gonna come out, but at the same time I'm like, I honestly can't put myself through that. I mean, I will, but
Yeah, I'll make you. Yeah.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm overestimating the control I have over Miles's life.
I think of all the times my friend Rob on PlayStation Access, they always get Dave to play the horror games because he's not good with them, and it is amazing to watch. But also, I can totally relate to him.
Yeah. Princess Summer Scales in the chat says, correction, the rumor is that Alien Isolation 2 is being pitched to a studio, but is not being greenlit. That has been greenlit.
Right.
So I guess we'll see. We'll keep an eye on that very closely. The fact that anybody's talking about it is all I care about. Like, because Alien Isolation was so good, and then it just fucking, what happened? Like, how come this hadn't become its own series? It was amazing.
They know that there's a market for it, and anyone... The decision, I think, is all going to be about priorities for game developers that are going to make it work, like where their resources are. It's not a question of will it sell. It will sell.
It will.
And I actually think it will sell even better, the fact that they didn't make a VR official port of the first game.
Interesting. Makes sense, though.
If that makes sense.
It does make sense. You just have to think about it for a minute. And I thought about it for a minute. Miles, I'm very seldom the guy that has a time that has to be out of here, but I do have shit to do tonight. So I got to get out of here soon. So let's move this along and play some PSVR 20 questions. Do you have a game picked out, my friend?
I have a game, Brian.
Okay.
Let's get this timer going.
Excellent. All right. For anyone new in the chat, make sure you help me out. Miles has a PlayStation VR game in his head. That means you guys out there and me over here have 20 yes or no questions to figure out what game he's thinking of. So don't just ask good questions for me to ask. Also give good suggestions of games based on the responses we get from Miles. Miles, don't AJ this. We don't have time for that today.
Don't know what you're on about. Let's go.
Okay. Put the timer up on the clock the way that Jeremy likes it. Timer up on the clock. No, the clock up on the counter. You know what? It's been a long time. Let's move on. On your mark. Get Des. Go. All right, Miles. Does this game use analog sticks?
No.
Oh, so we're going to go moves only. We're assuming that. We're assuming it's moves only.
You assume whatever you want, Brian.
Okay. You know what happens when you assume. Has this developer made other PSVR games?
I am gonna have to quickly look that up. Why did you have to ask this straight away? You said PSVR2. Sorry, any other PSVR games? I'm gonna say no.
Okay. Are you in any vehicles in this game, like a car or plane or any type of cockpit? No. Okay. No cockpit. I'm going to say no cockpit / vehicles. All right. Have we mentioned this game during today's episode, Miles?
No.
Wow. We talked about a lot of game today.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
That actually eliminates Prentice Summerscale's question. Is it a PSVR launch game? I listed them all. I should have listed hundreds of games during every episode just to kind of pinpoint this shit. That's good. Yeah, not Headmaster, not Rush of Blood. Is the thing you're doing in this game mostly shooting?
No.
Okay. Would you say it's more of a puzzle game?
Yeah, I would say that.
Okay.
6.
Does this game take place on planet Earth or some rendition of planet Earth?
I'm going to say yeah.
Okay. this a good game? Have we? Is this okay? Let's put it this way.
Yep.
It's a good game.
Yeah.
All right.
8.
All right. It's a good game. Mostly a puzzle game. Moves only. Developers haven't made other PSVR games. It doesn't take place in the cockpit. We haven't talked about it in today's episode, and it's not mostly shooting. Oh, good question, Professor Lilith. Is it cartoony aesthetically?
No.
Okay.
No.
Does it have any kind of horror aspect to it?
No.
Okay. Is there any time travel in this game?
And when you say that, you mean you're actually going through time. You actually do the time travel in it, yeah. Yeah, no, there's no time travel.
Okay, it's not Wanderer, guys, not Wanderer. All right. Okay, let's go deeper. I like people are in the chat are kind of doubling down on the puzzle side of things. Is this like an escape room?
No, not an escape room. I was just checking to see what the chat was saying.
Okay.
That's 12.
Is this game based on any kind of popular IP or well-known IP outside of gaming?
No.
No IP.
13.
Okay. There goes Doctor Who, you guys. Everybody's saying puzzle. Yeah, we know it's puzzle.
Someone said, "Is there puzzles in it?"
Right. We get the puzzle side of this down, you guys. I like Wonder Rob's question. Does it have a sci-fi element? We know it's not horror. Is it sci-fi?
I would say nope. Nope.
Shit.
14.
I think Emily Baxter might be onto something here. Are the puzzles you're solving in this game jigsaw puzzles?
Sorry, jigsaw puzzles. Yeah, they are. 15.
I love that you pretend to be distracted. I don't even know what other questions to ask.
We'll just go for it if you think you know what it is.
Trying to think of other games involving jigsaw puzzles. It's not going to go well. I still have 35 seconds. Would you say that the places in this game are puzzling?
Yes, Brian. I would say the places in this game are puzzling.
All right. Well, in that case, I think we've got it. Is this puzzling places?
It is puzzling places, Brian, and I loved how the chat kept on saying puzzles, and I'm like, they are saying like kind of the name of it, but no one was mentioning it. But yeah, Emily Baxter was the first one to say puzzling places, and I did have to look on their website. I don't believe they have done any other VR games.
I don't think they have. Nope.
They've done a lot of experiences and stuff, which is obviously showcased by the game itself. Like the game does feel very realized, and it feels like it comes from a developer that has had experience doing more non-fiction kind of entries, which seems to be the case. Their team has worked on sort of movies, and their partners and clients include Audi, NASA. That's pretty cool.
Miles, we're gonna get
and
out of here,
in your review, you said it has a fun platinum trophy. Have you got the platinum?
I have not gotten the platinum trophy because
I looked at it. It's tough, man. You got to do some of them in like really fast times. Like you need to get it down to a T. Know exactly.
Yeah, and one of them is you can't. I think every time you pick up a puzzle piece, you have to connect it, like find it. And so Nick Mulo, actually got the platinum, I believe, and I think he said he struggled with that one big time. So I say fun platinum trophy, but I also mean frustrating.
Yeah,
platinum trophy.
I need to go back to that game.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved it. It blew me away, and I just love the fact that because there's only one level that I've played fully, and it was I'm going to say it's kind of the museum where you got all the paintings on the wall.
Yes.
And you have to downstairs.
I think that was the first 400-piece one that I did.
Yeah, I think so as well. And it's the fact that as you have stuff moving around you, you can hear sounds. So when you're near the stairs, you can hear people walking down the stairs. So it feels like you feel like a ghost. Like you can sort of, and it was why when you mentioned the time travel thing, I my mind was thinking, are you meaning like you do? Because you do it. It does feel like you go through different time periods. But yeah, really, really cool game. So if people haven't played it and you do kind of like puzzling games, I definitely would recommend it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. Big fan. Everything, the sound design,
And they
as you
keep updating
mentioned,
it.
is amazing. Yeah, the DLC, there's tons of DLC. So if you end up liking it, tons of DLC to pick up, and every so often they throw us a free puzzle, which is nice. Really good stuff. Obviously for a very select market, but I laughed about this game when it was first announced, especially since they announced it like a year before it came out. I was like, really? A year? Like, you don't need to tell us a year before Puzzling Places comes out. You can tell us the day before, right? Just let us know, right? And I laughed about it leading up to launch, and then I played it, and I was like, this is so satisfying. It's very meditative and very relaxing, and the sound design
Very meditative.
The sound design even further than what Miles said. You know, like he's next to a window, you can hear like horse-drawn carriages or people or whatever going back through. It's more than that. Even when the pieces connect and click together, and then they gives you a little visual flair when it kind of like gives this shimmer to all the pieces that have connected. It's so satisfying, and it's exactly what I want from a VR 3D jigsaw puzzle game. Miles, we got to go, man. We got to go. I'm sorry to cut you off, but it's time.
No. We got to.
So, guys, thank you everybody who hung out. Thank you to Sci-Fi Game Cat Henry, who puts timestamps into this thing after the fact. Thank you to Jamie Out, who gets this thing up on podcast services of your choice for your oral pleasure. Also, thank you to my co-host for the day, Miles Dyer. If you don't already subscribe to him over, yes, he has Miles Dyer Official over on Instagram, but he also has youtube.com/Miles, and that's where he creates video content for your viewing pleasure. So yeah, we got to get out of here. Thank you to the mods. Thank you to everybody who hung out. Thank you to everybody who participated in the chat. 20 questions. You all helped me out. Emily Baxter helped me out the most. And of course, everyone who tips supports us on Patreon. Then there's the majority of the people out there. And those are the people who sit back and watch the show and never say a goddamn word. We know you're out there, and we love you just as much.
Have a great weekend. Have a great week, everyone. Good luck with getting those great deals on Black Friday, but don't spend more than you were planning to in the first place. That's the rule.
See you on Cyber Monday.
Yeah.
Miles, while we try to get out of here, I just think it's funny to let people know how these shows come together, especially on days like this where somebody has a heart out and be like, oh, I got to be out of here by like 7:30, 7:45, whatever. It's always like, oh, don't worry, there's not a lot to talk about today anyway, and then of course we start the show, and it's 45 minutes before we get to the very first topic that we had set for this show.
Yeah, I think it's cool. It goes with the flow, and the how many PSVR2 launch games are too many. I like the fact that by the time we got to it, we'd spent so much time talking about new games that we kind of answered it.
Yeah,
and I think that works good. Sometimes the big title of the show should just be implied by everything else we talk about.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we don't have to answer that question. I think everybody can answer that question for themselves. It was. I thought I kind of giggled when I came up with the name of today's show, because I was like, we're not really going to answer that question. Like, right? We're just going to talk about all these launch games, and that's good enough for me. Yeah. Oh man, people are like, just don't want me to get on with my night. They're like, clip of the week. Sorry, Brax bro. Sorry.
Yeah, I haven't done a clip of the week for a few weeks. I mean,
yeah.
Truth is, the last few weeks have been quite tough for me. Like, just my energy level's been quite low. I've been pretty hammered, like just with life at the moment. So I'm sort of cruising it.
Yeah.
Not with booze. Yeah. No. The one time a British doesn't mean it that way. Yeah. So I've actually come to these shows with quite low energy. So the fact that I've been able to cruise through these and I've been really enjoying it is good. And it's because the chat's amazing. Brian's great, and I always appreciate the support. So yeah, in the next coming weeks, I'll hopefully be back up and running again, and we can start getting some clip of the weeks again. And also when PSVR2 is out, I'll start getting some new content, because all the clips have been like 4 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna do my best to not work too hard this weekend because there's too many things that I want to do. I've got this new op-ed that I've been scripting literally all week, and I'm like, I need to film it, and I need to edit it, and it's gonna take like fucking. Op-eds were supposed to be 2 hours from start to finish, and instead now it's like this whole week thing. And then PSVR this week, obviously, I'm just kind of doing those occasionally, and so. It's they're trying to get me out of here now. First they were trying to keep me, now they're trying to get me out of here. Genetic blast me in the Chrome Colossus with the $2 tip, says Brian, go. I'm gonna do my best to just fucking chill this weekend. But I've got a lot of content in the works, and I hate seeing content. A lot of videos in the works. So that'll all come eventually. And thank you guys, because you all what's the best, you guys care so much more about me than the channel, and that's just amazing. What up, Jay Hunter from Tennessee? I lived in Tennessee. We'll talk about that some other time. Good night.
Have a good night, Brian.
Good night,
Have
Miles.
a good night, Game Cats.
Love you guys.
Peace.